Welcome. My name's Michelle. I'm with Olive and 2U Studios, and today we're here for the first of 3 videos that we're going to be doing to sort of help folks along during our Sankaku knit along. Mary Nielsen, who's one half of M&M So Charming, is joining me for all 3 of these videos because she has already knit this pattern and she's got great insights and tips. Now, do keep in mind, these videos are not meant to be full-blown tutorials, but they are meant to provide you with reflection and information and tips and tricks to help you get through this very simple pattern. It's not a complicated pattern at all. And so we're going to dive right in and get started with Mary. Welcome, Mary. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about the Sankaku, how you chose it. Let's see it. Tell us a little bit about the origin of this knit along.
Well, it's a Dando design, and I just kind of stumbled on it on Ravelry, and I just really thought it was just enough. It was just not a shawl that I have to worry about. What am I going to do with the tails and the wings and all? But it's not really a poncho because it's not long sleeves and such. So it's definitely something you can put on and keep on and still conduct business. And I really liked this little split, and I liked the kind of cowly neckline.
So it's super versatile, right? You can wear that split anywhere that it suits you. Is that the idea?
It even says that in the pattern. You can flip it around. There's not a front and a back. So you can put the split on the side if you want, along an arm, or you can have it in the front or offset just to kind of add a little interest.
Perfect. Let's see yours.
So here's mine.
Oh, that's so great. I love that kind of more subtle contrast. That's really beautiful.
And there's a lot of opportunities to kind of make it your own. I chose pretty high contrast yarn in the pattern, in the picture in the pattern. I think those are a little bit more less contrast, a little more coordinated yarn. But the mosaic part of it is also what was very intriguing to me.
So mosaic knitting really kind of gives you a lot of bang for your buck in terms of visual interest, but it's not hard, right?
Exactly. It's sort of to me, it's a first step into color work. You're not carrying yarn. There's no floats. It's slip stitches and knit stitches.
The other thing that I really found interesting about this particular pattern that took me a little by surprise, if I'm honest, is the fact that after you complete the mosaic part, you actually hold your 2 yarns together to get that sort of marled look at the top. Is that correct?
Yes. So the mosaic part is knit flat. Then you join in the round. That'll be on another video. And then from that point forward, from the mosaic all the way up, it's done in the round, and it's with the 2 yarns held together. Again, another design choice. If you look on Ravelry through the projects, which I love to do, and see what other people did, there were several people that I don't know if they held the yarn together or not. I didn't look at it that close. I was just looking for color options, but they kind of striped it. So they did 2 strands of the white and 2 strands of the purple after a few inches, just as an option.
And because
I like the marled look.
Yeah, me too. And because it's not a sweater, something super fitted, it's the gauge portion of it, dare I say this, is not as critical. So you're going to have a slightly different gauge if you hold those individually versus if you marl them, but it's not going to impact the wearability of the garment.
Right. I wouldn't think so. Now, when she designed this, there is a gauge option on here and all of that, but she designed it knowing the mosaic is knit flat with single strands and the rest of it is knit held together. So her counts and such, I'm sure there's some magic math for knitting that went into all of that.
I love that. It is kind of that out of the box designing that always really intrigues me and attracts me. So let me see. I'm going to show you the yarn that I've selected for my Sankaku. I'm very excited about it. I'm using 1 hank of Rawlings. Our kits right now are in Twain and Poppy, but I happen to have some Rawlings on hand that I was dying to use with my hank of Poppy. So Poppy is a slub textured yarn that we have in the shop, dyed by Maria Klein of the former Fat Bunny Yarn. And you can see those little nubs in there that provide just a little bit of more visual and textural interest in it. held with this smooth yarn. So twain and poppy together make the perfect combination. Again, I just happen to have some of our rawlings that I thought would meld perfectly in terms of colors. So that's what I'm going to be using. Now you have knit one of them, and I think you've got some yarn on the way for another. Is that right?
I do. Yes. I will be knitting along when the KAL starts. The videos are going to show you the different techniques, and I'm not using the Sankaku yarn for the videos, but yes, I will definitely be knitting along. We'll be in the yarn I use regularly, kind of showing our progress. With your poppy, could you hold your two yarns back up again? I have actually used up all the poppy that I knit this with, but you can see in the poppy where the slubs and such are there. It's almost like the flecks are not all dyed straight through. Like you can see a little bit of the lighter color peeks through, which goes very well with your twain.
Exactly.
And mine did that too, but I can't show you that because I don't have any of the poppy. I used it. And my other one should come today, but it's not here yet.
You used it all. Okay, so let's talk about the cast on, because you have a magic cast on that makes life so much easier that you introduced me to recently. And I want to make sure that I have that technique. So walk us through the cast on, if you will.
I will. Give me 1 sec. I just dropped my needles.
Uh-oh.
I am not the experienced video person that Michelle is. I thought I had everything all set, and then my needles fell on the floor.
We're all good.
Funny story about this. I took a class years ago, at least 12 years ago, in another state. And so we're casting on for a sweater, and we had to cast on a lot. It was bottom up, and so, okay, long tail cast on. How much yarn do I have to pull out? I never pull out enough, or I pull out too much, and then my Yankee thriftiness kicks in, and I'm like, there's like 12 inches left on this that I could use. Anyway, the teacher was just like, wait, everybody stop a second. What in the world are you all doing? That's not how you can do a long tail cast on without pulling out all that yarn. I mean, light bulb moment. Like, what do you mean? So she showed us, and I have always long tail casted on. Long tail casted on, is that right? I've always done it that way ever since. And every now and then I come across someone and I think, wait a minute, why are you doing it that way? I thought I was the only one that didn't know this. When we were in Scotland, sitting in the lounge in that lovely hotel in Dumfries, I was casting on, and Michelle said, "Well, what are you doing?" Because for this Dando design, you have to cast on 214 stitches.
Which is no small feat.
No. And there's magic knitting math, I'm sure, to tell you how much do you pull out for every inch of what you're casting on and all. Yeah, I'm not doing that. My tape measure is probably in the other room, and I'm ready right now. I don't want to get up and walk over there. So this is how I do it. You need to do 2 strands. Now, for purposes of this video, I'm using 2 different colors. So that, well, I guess I could have picked a yarn that didn't match my shirt so well. I'm using 2 different colors of yarn. You don't need to do that. If you are knitting one solid color, cast on from both ends of your cake. If you are an outside puller, just pull out the center for a little bit just for your cast on, and then you don't need to use the center pull anymore. If you're a center puller, just the opposite. Unwrap a little bit from the outside of the cake and do your cast on. So that makes sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Okay. Now with 2, I'm gonna jump in here right to the end part first and show you. I like using the 2 contrasted because you get this extra little design element. This is a hat that I made. This is the top. This is the hat. It's one of those national park hats.
Neat. So
I cast on with the green and the blue just so that little teeny bit of green could show. Now,
what a fun detail.
And, you might not, well, I had to go searching because I have several things that I cast on, but I didn't do that for design purposes, but I did find this little hat. So with my Dando, I also did use 1 strand of poppy and 1 strand of twain, but you can't see it as well. Because then I started knitting it and because you're using both the whole time, it didn't show up as well. But for today, I'm using both. So first thing, you need 2 strands of yarn. And now you're just going to do a little slip knot like you would normally when you start a cast on. And I hold them together to do that.
Okay. So you're holding the yarns together and you're going to make a slip knot.
Correct.
All right.
And
That's
I don't
doable.
leave a big long tail. That's just going to get woven in at the end. This has zero purpose, this little tail here. So
Okay.
what is that? Maybe 4 or 5 inches, not even 5 inches, 4 inches.
Yep.
All right. Now I'm not going to worry about the tail. I'm just going to hold that out of the way. Now I have 2 strands to do a long tail cast on. That's all there is to it. Just like your normal long tail cast on, make your V, pick up your thumb, pick up your index finger and pull it.
Okay. So you use the 2 strands as though it were the one strand. You're not holding them together any longer. Okay.
Nope. You're just splitting it. Now, if you've done this for a while, you kind of figure out, and I can't swear to this because I've never actually watched anybody else do this, but for me, the yarn that's on my thumb is going to be the yarn that's on the very bottom. So on my little hat, the green was over my thumb, the blue was over my index finger. So if you're doing 2 different colors and you want to know, well, what's going to happen? It also is, for me, really easy. If I have to put it down, I get interrupted. I drop it on the floor. I know for this cast on, the white is on my thumb, the blue is on my finger.
Okay.
And then you just cast on just like you do normally. Long tail cast on. It goes and it goes and it goes.
And you've got plenty of yarn
at the bottom. Yeah. And when I get done, there's a couple things I'm going to throw in the middle, but I'm going to jump to the end. When I get done, I don't cut any yarn. Typically, in almost any pattern, unless maybe it's, well, I guess if you're going right into a rib, typically I like to knit the first row. Regardless of what the pattern says, I like to knit the first row. Now, in the Sankaku, that is the first thing you do, is you knit the first row. So knit the first row. Then when I know I've got my 214 stitches, I'm good. Then I cut the other yarn so that I'm using only 1 yarn. Now, in the Sankaku, you don't cut. You keep going with 2 strands. Let me re-explain that because that sounded very confusing. We're doing 2 things here. I'm teaching you how to do a 2-stranded cast on. If you're going to keep using 2 strands, then you just keep them on there and you just keep going.
Just carry on.
Right. But if
you
you're
just
not,
drop the one, right?
Just drop the one and keep knitting. I don't cut it off immediately because if I've made a mistake in my cast on, it's easy to just, okay, rip it out, put my slip stitch back in and start again. I don't have to recalculate how much yarn did I pull out and all that. So in this case, my very bottom is on my thumb and up into the body is on my index finger.
I love it. That just really simplifies everything. Mind blown. That's great. And you can do that for any pattern, essentially.
Absolutely. Anything that calls for a long tail cast on, you just use the 2 strands. So when you long tail cast on, you're using 2 strands of yarn.
Right.
But you have to pull out, yards of the first one. Somewhere here in this pattern, it tells you like pull out 3 3/4 yards of yarn or whatever to do the cast on for 214 stitches.
But that's difficult to manage because it can start getting, knotted or tangled or whatever. That's a lot of yarn.
Yep.
So this
and my yarn is still just all balled up.
Simplifies it. Oh, I love it.
And even if it's 1 cake of yarn, which I have also done on this beautiful Fitzgerald yarn.
Yep.
All right, so it wasn't quite that easy. 1 strand from the outside and 1 strand from the inside.
Easy peasy. Fantastic. All right.
I like to center pull. So if I am just going to knit with 1 strand, once I do my outside and inside and I get done and I knit my first row, then I just cut off that outside one, leave a little tail, wrap up my cake, and then I just keep center pulling. I know you like to outside pull.
I do.
Same with you. Then you just cut off the inside one and you just keep on going.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay.
So when I have to cast on 1,000,000 stitches, or 214 in this case, I put stitch markers in every 50. Everybody's got a magic number. When we were knitting in Scotland, one of the ladies said, "Oh, I do them every 25." Okay, that's, whatever works for you, but it's an easier way to count. So I got 50, 100, 50, 200, and then 41 more.
Right. It makes
When I
perfect
come
sense.
back on the knit row, there are times when I haven't counted quite as right as I thought I did. I'm just going to knit this really quick so I can show you when I get there. Just give me a sec.
Yep.
So I cast on 2, 3, 4. You want to sing or something?
No.
So I cast on 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I needed 9. Well, shoot. Now what am I going to do? Well, here's my slip stitch that I am going to just pull off. Well, you know what? I'm going to use that slip stitch of blue. And then I'm just going to pull off the white and snug it all up. And there's my 9 stitches.
Okay. Perfect. So
that part makes sense?
So the slip stitch you essentially get rid of at the end. Is that right? Because it's
Correct.
the double. Okay.
Yep. But if you need it, it's there.
Separate
and that was just kind of an accidental bonus that I did discover one time when I needed one extra stitch.
What is that? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly.
So there you go. Okay.
And I knit my first row, and now I'm going to turn. And because I am mosaic knitting,
you've got the other colors right there.
Yep. And I'm ready to start in on the pattern. Let me just get back to the beginning here. The magic of video. I did not cast on 214 stitches. I only have 9.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now, if I was only using one yarn, I could cut one off, but I'm going to keep them both there because I need them both for mosaic knitting.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. So, tell us a little bit about mosaic knitting and some things to keep in mind whilst you're doing that.
All right. So if you're making this pattern, and I really hope you are because you're going to love it, she gives you lots of information. She calls this a cowl, but it comes off the shoulder. To me, a cowl is right around the neck. So it's off the shoulder. My daughter teaches 2nd grade in a school that, we live in Florida. So it's hot outside, but the control for the temperature is in her classroom, and it controls the rooms on either side of her. And one of the teachers is always hot and one of the teachers is always cold. And, there's this constant little battle but Sarah has the thermostat. Well, she tries to be nice. So she likes wearing lightweight knit things, little cardigans or things. And I made her a dando, not this particular one, but I made her a dando poncho that she loves to wear because it's lightweight. We refer to it as just enough. You're not going to be too hot. It's not meant to be outside in the cold. It's meant to be worn as a garment, like, the sweater you have on. If it's cold outside, you're going to put more clothes on, but you can wear that. So when you're mosaic knitting, you're only ever knitting with one yarn at a time. So it's always a 2-row repeat. You're going to knit across and knit back with purple. You're going to drop your purple.
And it's the 2 rows that makes the one progression in the pattern. Is that right? Sort of like the next step of the pattern.
Every color is knit 2 rows. So yes, you knit across, front side, back side with purple, drop the purple, pick up I'm going to use purple and white because that's what I used. Pick up the white, front row, back row with white, drop the white, front row, back row with purple. That's all there is as far as yarn management.
And there's a rhythm
front
to
row,
it.
Back row, drop that color, pick up the next. You don't have to worry. You don't ever cut the yarn. You don't have to worry about, twisting it because it's only 2 rows. So the next yarn up is right in the right place. I tend to snug it up a little bit because if I've dropped it and left it hanging there, well, that stitch might not have been quite as to the right tension that it should have been. So when I knit the first stitch on the pattern, I just make sure it's all snugged up, and then I front row, back row.
So there's
drop
no
zone.
float management to deal with.
None.
We talk a lot about floats and color work, but this isn't true color work. So you don't have to worry about that float management.
Exactly. And because the other yarn, when I'm knitting with the purple on my front row and back row, the white's just still hanging out there. It went nowhere. So I'm not carrying it. It's all done with slip stitches.
Perfect. And slip stitches, the pattern tells you where to hold your yarn during those slip stitches. Is that correct?
Absolutely, it does. And that's the next thing on my card to cover. I think it's a little bit ambiguous. It's a beautifully written pattern. And if you read it and you know exactly what she meant, then you have no problem. I'm going to read you a part of the pattern. It says, when slipping stitches, the yarn will always be at the back of the work. Okay, so I stopped there and thought, okay, it's always in the back, yarn in the back. Well, no, that's not the case. Keep reading. Slip stitches with the yarn in back on the right side rows. Slip stitches with the yarn in front on the wrong side row. So the yarn is actually touching the back of the work when you're on the wrong side. When you're on the return row, you're on the wrong side, you're looking at the back of your knitting. So the yarn is in the front. So when it says slip stitches, the yarn will always be at the back of the work, you do have to move the yarn from the front to the back to make sure you're on the back of your work. Now, that probably sounds clear as mud. So I'm going to explain it with the knitting. So let me get this organized. So I start knitting on and it's flat. So I'm knitting on my right side row. I knit across and the yarn is in the back. So I knit with the purple. I knit 33 stitches. And
because you're knitting, the yarn is in the back.
And the yarn, well, yeah, yes, exactly. But the white yarn, so when I'm knitting with purple and I've knit 33 and I'm going to slip one stitch, my yarn is still in the back because I'm on the front of the row. When I turn it to come back, my yarn is still in the back. This is the back of my sweater. So now I'm still knitting with purple, knitting 33 purples. You only knit the color that you're holding. So I'm knitting purple. So I'm knitting purple yarn in my hand, purple stitches on my needles. I get to the white stitch. I'm not going to knit it because I'm holding purple yarn. I'm going to slip the white stitch, but I'm on the back of the sweater. So the yarn has to come to the front. Slip the white stitch, put the yarn back in the back because I'm still knitting, and I knit 33 more purples.
So it's all about
yarn in my hand.
It's all about the yarn that you're knitting, and the yarn, you move it from the back to the front to slip it no matter which side you're on. Is that correct?
No, only if you're in the back. Well, because when you're knitting on the front, your yarn is in the back.
Right. Okay.
So you only have to move it on the back row, and you only move it when you're slipping the stitches, and you're only slipping the stitches with the yarn when you're not holding that color.
When you're not knitting with that color. Okay.
And I feel like some of this sounds a little ambiguous, but once you're doing it,
makes
sense. Back row to me, after the first couple of rows, the back row becomes the social knitting side. Because if you're looking at it while you're knitting, okay, I'm holding purple yarn. I'm knitting purple stitches. Oh, there's a white one. Okay, I'm on the front of my sweater. So now I'm paying attention. I'm knitting purple stitches on the back. Oh, there's a white one. I don't want to knit it with my purple yarn. It's a white stitch. Bring the yarn to the front, slip it, or slip 3, or however many, wherever you are in the pattern. Put the yarn back and keep knitting. You can't really knit with the yarn in the wrong place because then you're doing yarn overs.
Exactly. And you don't want to do that.
No, you do not.
You end up with holes in your knitting.
So one more thing with the mosaic knitting. I mean, you can see it's a pattern repeat.
Right.
It's a 34 stitch repeat. So with the 241 stitches, you have 7 repeats plus 3 stitches. The very first stitch is not part of the pattern repeat, and the last 2 stitches are not part of the pattern repeat. So you start with a knit, you do 7 repeats, and then you end with a slip 1, knit 1. Then when you turn, and she has written instructions and charted instructions.
Oh, that's great.
When you turn to come back, we're on the back side now. we're going to knit one, slip one, and then do the 34 stitches 7 times. And the last stitch is a knit. So to me, stitch markers are your friend. And if you have been a Olive and 2U follower since the beginning, hello, yes, I have. I'm ready to take out all my Christmas stitch markers because by the time we start this KAL, it'll be getting on to Christmas. And I kept them all. I didn't keep them all. All of these are kept together, but I also have 2 bracelets full of stitch markers that I wear at Christmas time.
How fun is that?
Because between Advent boxes and other special things that you have done over the years at Christmas time and special yarns or Christmas in July, some of my Christmas stitch markers came to me in July. And so you're going to need 7 stitch markers for the 7 repeats. I added 2 more because sometimes I'm brain dead. I'm going to knit one. I want a stitch marker. Then I'm going to do my repeats. 34, 34, 7 times. And then I'm going to put a stitch marker at the end where I'm then going to slip one, knit one. So I like a marker at the beginning and the end of my repeats. I have a knitting friend that I've had for a long time, and she kind of takes pride in the fact that, oh, I don't need stitch markers when I'm doing lace work or repeated pattern works. I don't see this as any kind of a slight to my knitting expertise.
No.
It's a place where if I'm going to make a mistake, and be honest, we all do, I know right there somewhere the mistake is because my pattern says I need to knit 2 and I only got 1 stitch left within that 34 stitches. Right there, I can correct the problem.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting until I get 238 and I've run out of stitches.
Yeah. And then you have to decide, okay, am I okay with this as a design element or do I need to tink it back? And you really have big decisions to make then. So sort of localizing that mistake really makes sense, which is why I love the idea of putting stitch markers in during such a laborious cast on, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal if you're only casting on 25 stitches. If you're casting on 200 and something and you get to the end and it's wrong, woof. So,
or you have to keep counting, which is what happens to me is, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? And I have to keep counting to see, okay, I'm almost there. Not quite, almost there. With those 50, well, I mark it 50. It's very easy, 50, 100, 150. Okay, now I'm not at the 200 mark yet, but I'm only counting a much smaller number repeatedly.
I like it too, because if you get interrupted when you're counting, I mean, you can be the most meticulous counter, but a kid comes in, a dog starts barking, there's a delivery at the door. You don't.
The only person in my house that understands counting is my husband, because when I'm counting and he asks a question and I'm knitting and I don't answer, he'll say, okay, sorry, you're counting. Or I start counting louder. And
that's what I do. I just start counting louder and I have a look on my face. 58, 59.
Like, oh, okay.
Exactly. All right. So this will get us started. We'll get our cast on done. We've got some good tips and tricks for managing that mosaic knitting. And you've kind of given us a heads up about that little bit of ambiguity in the pattern. So our next video, tell us what we're going to cover before we leave today.
So the next video, if you're going to like knit along and watch the videos as they get to the spot where I hope you are, the next one will be when you're finished with the mosaic. And then there's join in the round. I love how she joined this in the round. And then the holding them together and continuing to knit. That part then becomes easier. However, there are decreases. And so I've got a way to manage that for you as well. And we'll talk about that in the next video.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I would like to add, if I may, that I didn't cover, and we're not going to cover it here, but with the long tail cast on with 2 strands, I also join in the round that way. And, if you ever want to cover that, we can, or you can look up a video, but it doesn't have to be with just flat knitting. I use the 2-stranded long tail cast on anytime I have to do a long tail. In fact, I usually just always do a long tail cast on. I've never tried. There's a fancy one. I forget. It was some knit along that we were doing at one time, and it was a new kind of cast on. And I tried it for a minute and then thought, yep, nope, I'm doing my long tail cast on. It just works that way.
Yeah,
And
I
yes,
always
and I do a lot of knitting in the round, but I still do the two-stranded.
right. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. All right, Mary, thank you so much for being here. We will see you all in video number 2. So go ahead and you can find that also in the playlist when we release it. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Michelle with Olive and To You, Mary Nielsen with M&M So Charming, and we'll see you for round 2 of the Sankaku. Have a great day. See you in the
Bye.
Yarny Use. Bye.